I've been working with Paris and Nigel and Chica on doing these musical connection events online, using music to help us feel a little bit better and connect with other people.
And doesn't it show what music and the strength of spirit can do for us, for all of us, for our well-being?
It's been so revitalising and energetic to see a lot of you connect with us and see you all moving with us and enjoying the music.
We've got some fantastic musicians and singers giving up their time for you.
And music can be helpful. People can get stuck, both in their emotions and in their bodies. We are looking to give beautiful, enlivening emotional journeys.
I love the idea of listening to music with your whole body. Even our relationships are our bodies in relationship to other people.
This isn't wishy-washy new age stuff. It's got really good science behind it, and it works, and it has no side effects. I really enjoy these evenings and look forward to many more.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Wellbeing Live Connection Through Music. It's great to see so many of you join us this week for another fantastic show. For me, the second week of lockdown's come quicker and quicker as we get through these shows, so it's definitely getting me through it. And prospects of only 2 weeks left. Can you imagine that these shows have now been running for over 6 months? It only seemed like yesterday that we got together, shared and connected through music. And it's been a very staple thing in my household, and we long wish it continues. To begin with, I'd like to put a poll on the screen. If you're joining through Facebook, you'll have a series of questions that might ask around how physically well you feel, or how safe you may feel, or how enlivened you might feel. If you're joining through Facebook, please feel free to comment below. If you're wondering how to use the chat function, if you look at the bottom toolbar, there's a button that will say chat. Throughout the show, please feel free to comment on how you might feel, any more memories that the music might evoke. And whilst you do the surveys, I'll share some beautiful pictures of Anna and Barbara. And then we'll begin with this week's show. To begin with, I'd like to introduce Dr. Chica Robertson.
Thank you, Paris. And so good to see all of you from across the world. We are in for such a treat tonight with Barbara Thompson's music and her daughter Anna. Barbara, what can one say about one of the most famous jazz saxophone players in the world? Constantly in demand, she was always a superb musician and family mother. She comes from a family of accomplished musicians. Her grandparents were professionals in, we had a very famous cellist and pianist in her grandparents, and her great uncle owned Bosworth, the big music publishing company. You'll see it's come down to Anna, this musical talent, but the best way to introduce Barbara is through her music itself. And so we bring you live from 2005 from the Never Say Goodbye tour. This is Close to the Edge, and it's live. Thank you, Paris. Wonderful, wasn't it? Now, you might think they were always playing like that, but when you get the top of the jazz world meeting the top of the jazz world and the pop world, can they speak together? Well, this is a really interesting documentary, Jazz, Rock, and Marriage. I think Barbara and John's story is one of the best fairy tales ever out there, but this was their beginning. So we're going back to a 1979 BBC documentary.
On synthesizer.
Barbara Thompson is one of Britain's leading jazz musicians. A composer and multi-instrumentalist on tenor, alto, soprano saxophone, clarinet and flute, she's been playing in a variety of bands since her student days at the Royal College of Music in the early 60s. She's married to John Heisman, a self-taught virtuoso drummer who during the past 10 years has led 3 rock bands, the best known of which was Colosseum.
Next.
This year, after Colosseum split up, he and the bassist Dill Katz joined Barbara and her keyboard player Colin Dudman in Barbara's own quartet, Paraphernalia. Barbara and John had met in 1965 when they were both playing in the New Jazz Orchestra. But since then, they have played together only occasionally, each mainly following a separate musical path. Barbara in jazz, John in rock.
It's easy when you look. And you see, I have a suspicion that when you get playing it, something else has evolved there.
That's the point. Well, in that case, I'm playing 5. If you're doing it halfway between 5 and 6.
So in a sense, this first rehearsal of the new quartet was the beginning for them of a new musical relationship, this time on a regular basis.
Well, let's go for a deal.
But you see, you've been playing it so fast, I think, that it hasn't mattered. Because everybody just feels the down.
Yeah.
And you just play that, actually, don't you? You just play, you know. But at slower speed, you've now got to make the beats, and that's going to be a whole different...
It's too much to do.
Right,
I suppose a 5/8 contingent.
Right. I think we'll carry on with Stairways now. We'll play it together, and then you can hear how it goes. It's quite slow.
And that mark of laughter was always in their household. Barbara, absolutely a superb mother, and John, a superb father. And we are so delighted to have Ana Gracey, their daughter, with us tonight. Anna, are you there?
I'm here. Hi
Wonderful.
there. Thank you so much for asking me to be here. And
It's such a pleasure. Now, when you were a little toddler, I believe that a song was written for you by Barbara. And it was called, can you tell us about it?
yes, sure. Well, actually, it was called Little Annie U because Annie U is my kind of secret, not so secret nickname that my mum and dad called me. And I don't think I remember a time when that song wasn't written, but I think it was around the age of 4 that it actually kind of first came to light. And I do remember all my childhood kind of waiting for that moment. Often it was an encore. They were very good at. My dad always made sure audiences went into the interval for the purchasing of CDs opportunity, which kept them going, you know, feeling good. So sometimes before the interval, sometimes at the end. And I always kind of knew that my mum was going to introduce it. And if I was in the audience, she was going to point me out, and I could kind of bridle in my seat. And just feel immensely proud. So like I say, that song has been in my psyche and in my world all my life. So for those of you, I'm envious if you've never heard it and it's your first time. It's a wonderful song.
Let's hear it now. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Now, the guest group tonight is Barbara Thompson's Paraphernalia, and they feature Colin Dudman on the keyboards. On the bass is Dill Katz, the drums John Heisman, on electric violin is Pete Hartley, and the leader is certainly one of the finest instrumentalists that I know. She's also one of the most attractive, except perhaps for my Uncle Jaime, who wasn't a very good musician, but he was terribly attractive. Until he got arrested. She's Barbara Thompson, and the group is going to start with one of Barbara's compositions, which she's dedicated to her little 4-year-old daughter, whose name is Annie, and her nickname is Little Annie U.
There we are. Sorry, I couldn't find the unmute thing. Anna, I remember with your mother and father, everything had such a sense of fun. Not only could they play just staggeringly, incredibly proficiently, it was all whiz stuff, wasn't it? But can you remember sax rap and what a lot of fun Barbara had with that? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, sax rap actually, you know, they had an amazing overnight success in Germany with their album Breathless that sax rap is on, and it's actually mentioned in my mum's book about that. And she kind of took a sample from somewhere and then just wrote this amazing rip-roaring track that just had everyone grooving. I mean, at the time, my dad had to have his headphones on and trigger samples, you know, and it was stuff that people weren't necessarily doing much in jazz, and touring with this kind of box of sounds. And, you know, and then they made this video, and it kind of, at the start of the video, you'll see images from Sweet Nothing, which is a film, the only film my mum's ever been in. She played a homeless lady called Sadie. And at the end of the film, the saxophone was actually, it was to raise awareness for the homeless. And the saxophone was actually bulldozed over as they destroyed this big homeless shelter. And my dad rescued this bulldozed saxophone. So that's what you're seeing in sax rap. He's kind of making quite a joke of being the one to fix it. And he actually often was the guy fixing my mum's saxophones in intervals. You know, John, the key's broken. Get his special sort of magnifying glasses and off he'd go. So yeah, there's lots of references here. And actually one of my favorite, you may not see the end, but if you can see the end, my mum is obviously having a go at my dad and he left it in. So later, if you can watch it back, there's a whole bit at the end, and it always makes me smile. So enjoy.
I'm so pleased, Paris, that you shared those Facebook comments. Awesome, mind-blowing. People remember that tour. Isn't that amazing? I heard from actually the Medici Quartet when they had about a 10-year relationship going over to Europe and playing with Barbara. That was mind-blowing for them. And they produced with George Martin a CD which has one of the fantastic compositions by Barbara. It's called The Mysterious Barricades. It was inspired by a Swiss painting depicting a haunting rooftop lit by the moon. So you can picture that with this music. It's so beautifully written. And I had the real pleasure of speaking to Tony Lewis, the fantastic cellist of the Medici Quartet, earlier this afternoon. And Tony said that the crowds in Germany were fantastic. There were huge audiences of well over 1,000, very unlike any string quartet performance, he added. And he said the other thing that was very distinct from any classical performance was when you went to the hotel room on Barbara's tours, you opened the fridge and it was well stocked, completely full of alcohol. Whereas on a classical music tour, you'd be happy to get a bottle of water, really. So this one was recorded in a church, Tony said, in Tunbridge Wells in Kent. They also performed a lot at the Queen Elizabeth Hall, in the Purcell Room. And I think it was about 2 tours in France and Germany that they did. So do you have any memories of that tour or any tours like that, Anna? Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
Hang on.
There you are.
So, yeah, I mean, of course, I've been on tour with my parents, you know, not so much with classical stuff, I must say, but I do remember some QE Hall visits, I think Medici's, and some, you know, always my mum draws a crowd. One of her favourite stories is that when she joined Colosseum, who obviously quite a big deal and tend to pull bigger audiences than Paraphernalia, one of the first venues they went to, there was a huge banner that said, "Welcome Barbara Thompson and Colosseum."
Wow.
And she was like kind of in your eye. Yeah.
That's a wonderful story. And now just a little bit off this album of Barbara's composition, The Mysterious Barricades. Now, in 1997, Barbara was diagnosed with Parkinson's. This is from their 2012 BBC documentary called Playing Against Time. This was also made, this documentary, by Mike Dibb.
Barbara's band Paraphernalia, with various changes of personnel along the way, has been successfully touring, mostly in Europe, since the 1970s. In 2005, with Barbara's physical condition increasingly unpredictable, they set out on a farewell tour.
I'm glad to be back, but I don't know how long it will be for.
We'll work as long as we can. We might get lucky. We've always been lucky so far, so maybe we get lucky again.
The latest album, Never Say Goodbye, I've written a lot of very happy things. It's very up in mood, got spirit, you know, and hope, spirit, joy.
Amazing. So Barbara's successes as a composer were beautifully documented in a new book, which Anna will tell us about later, I hope, Anna. But I have a question for you right now, Anna, if I may. Can you share anything about your mother's incredible classical music compositions? Maybe something to do with the Apollo Saxophone Orchestra, which I heard some amazing works on.
Yeah, well, sadly, I was actually abroad singing in northern Thailand and having my daughter when all this took place. And my dad is like his hobby is video, so he kitted out the studio here and filmed the saxophone orchestra. But I thought actually it'd be better that it came actually from my mum. So I'm going to read something from her book about this era with the Apollo Saxophone Orchestra. So, back wearing my composing hat, I had the opportunity to work on a grand but workable idea, a piece for the newly formed Apollo Saxophone Orchestra. Rob Buckland and Andy Scott, members of the Apollo Saxophone Quartet, approached me with an idea for a 12-piece sax ensemble following the successful projects we'd worked on together a few years earlier. I'd enjoyed writing for them before and felt that the project was something special. This extraordinary orchestra comprised a sopranino, 2 sopranos, 3 altos, 3 tenors, 2 baritones, and 1 bass. And so a new ensemble was born, with its unique voice apparent and everything falling into place from the start. I created a piece for the orchestra called Perpetual Motion, a scurrying 5-minute long toccata-like movement. There was also a Perpetual Motion CD which received a critical acclaim. It consisted of 10 compositions and was recorded by John and released on Nimbus Alliance. John was the right person to work on this, as he had so much experience of recording saxophones. The instrument is usually recorded close to the microphone and the sound is mixed afterwards, but John couldn't do that with an orchestra and knew they needed a space with the right acoustics and resonance. When Perpetual Motion was played at the Royal Northern College of Music, the power of the 12 saxes was awesome, truly orchestral beyond the ensemble size. I wanted the sax to sound like an orchestral instrument, and it did. You could hear a woodwind section and brass section, and the bass saxophone sounded like cellos. It really showed off the instrument's versatility and the talent of the players. The musicians came from far and wide and loved playing the music that was specially written for saxophones. John also decided to make a video and needed to record me in the studio playing the opening improvisation of Dear Bark so that he could cut some film he'd already shot of me to fit. Unfortunately, by this time, side effects of the Parkinson's drugs, distortion of my frame, unreliability of the drug's action, and chronic sleepiness had started to set in. The first day of recording was dreadful, and as I kept throwing off headphones with my uncontrolled movements and moving out of the way of the microphones, this is where John's genius for innovation and overcoming difficulties came to the fore. He set up 3 mics around me to capture every sound and gaffer taped the headphones to a baseball cap. However, there were still many problems with the lack of control over my embouchure, which was causing vibrato and tuning problems and leaving me frustrated and angry. It was only when a beautiful new top arrived in the post and I put it on that I was able to give a good performance. It's amazing what a spot of retail therapy can do.
Thank you. And here we have Dear Bach, it's called.
Yeah, that's right. You're going to hear that.
Absolutely beautiful. And Anna, we're all so fortunate because you are continuing your parents' legacy so beautifully. And John and Barbara were also extremely kind and helpful to my daughter, Callista Kazuko. Callista, can you share any special memories that you have working with John, Barbara, and Anna?
Oh, I'd absolutely love to. This is just so nice to see all these films, and it's making me so emotional. So I can't even imagine for you, Anna. We're just so lucky to be able to watch these videos of our parents, and we're so lucky to have had such wonderful parents who brought us up with such love and music. So I was so lucky to get to know this amazing family. I was sent as a teenager when I said, right, I think I want to be a musician. And my dad said, right, well, there's one woman you have to meet, and that's Barbara Thompson. And Barbara and your gorgeous family have been inspiring me every single day since. My overwhelming memories are just of laughter and love in the house. You welcome me in, and God, I have so many lovely memories. So favorite memories, because Anna, you were actually my first singing teacher. Don't know if you remember. So I remember lying on the gorgeous conservatory floor, the room with the pianos in it, and you would shake my legs and be like, now breathe into here and breathe into here, and I'd be like, ooh. So that was always fun. And one thing that always amazed me was, well, it's just your family, and especially your mum's ability to have these incredible careers, you know, touring the world. But it was like when you were in the house, like, none of that mattered. It was just like, you know, we were just normal people being lovely people. And your mum, no matter what she was doing, all these incredible things, she'd always managed to make these incredible lunches. She would just appear. She'd be like, oh, I just made this. Was it soup? Soup. That's it. Yeah. Like I just, I was like, how do you have time to do that? It's just amazing. Your dear dad, I miss him so much. And it's so lovely, actually. Because I don't know if I've ever told you, but sometimes when you say something, it's like seeing your dad. You're so much like your dad. It's just so nice. But probably one of my favorite memories of your dad is the amazing conversations he'd have with himself when he was in the studio.
Yes.
headphones on. He'd have full conversations, just
and doing DIY, anything like that. He'd be right now we've got, and also swearing, whatever it took to get the job done, basically.
So my nicest memories of your dad was when your mum would walk in the room sometimes and he'd go, "Oh, Barbara," and it's like he'd never seen her before, and he'd be like, "My goodness, Barbara, how are you so beautiful?"
Yes.
Yes. Also, the way he would talk about you, and this was when you were in Thailand. And he would talk about you, and his face would just light up, and it was just this absolute pride and love. You really were just everything to him. So those are my memories. And so you've carried on your parents' incredible legacy with some beautiful music of your own. You're an amazing singer-songwriter, and we have an extract from your most recent album, Wicked Games.
You will cop cream, don't you stop, cream, shaboogie bar. I knew you were trouble when you walked in. Oh, won't you stay with me? 'Cause you're all I need. I could be brown, I could be blue, I could be violet sky.
Oh, sorry. So Anna, your voice is, I'm going to say, it's my favorite in the world. I love your voice so. And it's just so amazing to see you carrying on, just like your mum, being a successful musician, businesswoman, and mother. It's just so nice. Could you tell us a little bit about the next film we're going to see, which is 1,000 years from this album, Wicked Games, which your dad.
So just to say a little bit, like, this album was supposed to be, I suppose, a bit of a fun side project, because I usually am like songwriting, but it was an idea Peter Lima from Paraphernalia and I had like years and years before to sort of mess around with some pop songs. Actually, that's become a massive thing now, but we were doing it, but it never saw the light of day. And we played some demos to my dad, and he was knocked out, as he often, he was, and he kind of immediately started fiddling around, laying down drums and really enjoying it, because it was taking him back to his jazz roots, he said. And before, like, he learned to have a massive drum kit that he beat the crap out of. And this one is one of the most sensitive of the songs. And actually, I kept saying, do you think it should make the album? Is it boring? And it's kind of become a jazz waltz. And what's really nice is that we actually recorded this in quarantine, in lockdown, to my dad's drums. So we've got Phil Mulford on double bass, and Billy Thompson, who put the violin actually after my dad had died, just before we kind of released the album, and plays beautifully. And of course, Peter Lima on keys, and it's my dad playing a wonderful jazz waltz with brushes. It's getting to be a lost art now, so I hope you enjoy it.
Colors and promises, how to be brave, how can I love when I'm afraid to fall, but watching you stand alone, goes away somehow. One step closer. I have died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I'll love you for 1,000 more. One step closer. And all along I believed I would find you. Time has brought you here to me. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I love you for 1,000 more. I have died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I'll love you for 1,000 more. And all along I believed I would find you. Time has brought your heart to me. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I love you for 1,000 more.
That is absolutely incredible. And how lovely that Billy Thompson is with us.
Yeah,
as
he's
well.
here.
Isn't that fantastic? I must have a lesson from him. I need to learn how to do some jazz fiddle. And I have to say that, Anna, your next composition, You Rain Down, is absolutely beautiful too. And I'm just going to read your dedication, what you wrote on that. Dedicated to my mom, Barbara Thompson, and in loving memory of my dad, John, and my grandparents, Philip and Pat Heisman. That's beautiful. Thank you. And you have John on the drums on this. So here we are. You Rain Down. Thank you. so beautiful. I love your writing and your voice. Anna, thank you so much. Would you like to tell us this exciting news about Barbara's new book and her new CD box series?
Absolutely, yes. So we've got spent the last 2 years really as a project, because when my dad died, it left us all feeling very lost. But that was something he was on his list, which was basically to get my mum's story out there. He had his own book, and it had taken a lot of work. So my mum and I worked with an amazing team. And then I spent the last couple of months really just refining it, finding lots of memorabilia, so many contributors and helpers. And this amazing book, Journey to a Destination Unknown, is now out. It's published by Jazz in Britain, and it's, if you just type in and look for it, it's available on her website, barbara-thompson.co.uk. And I guess kind of around the same time, Repertoire Records, who had put out my father's last album with his trio JCM, I sent them some couple of BBC programs that a fan had sent me and said, look, I've got some of this stuff in your archive, from my archive, and I know your dad had a big archive. And I was like, did he? Oh, right. Basically Thomas at Repertoire Records has championed this project. It has become the biggest CD box set that Repertoire Records have ever put out, and that's saying something, because they've got huge box sets of Yardbirds material and, you know, some of the great legacy music artists. So this is 14 CDs. It's 27 complete radio programs, more than 14 hours of music from 1969 through to 1990. And it features some surprising contributions. Some of the big legends of British jazz: Jack Bruce, John Heisman, Don Rendell, Harry Beckett, Kenny Wheeler, Henry Lowther, Ian Carr, Dick Hextall-Smith, Gary Husband, Frank Ricotti and Chris Spedding. And it's got amazing liner notes by Dave Gelly, who is a jazz critic, broadcaster and saxophonist. So that is going to be available towards the end of the month, and it's just going to be a beautiful package full of memorabilia, and the liner notes are well worth listening to. So I'm really proud that we got this thing out, and my mum's really absolutely delighted as well. So check it out.
Well, we certainly will, and sounds just in time for Christmas. I'm definitely going to be checking it out. Thank you. I thought it would be nice to show from your book. Paris, there's just a photograph that your mother had put in the book. And this was when, I know you can't read them, but just to show you very quickly, these were postcards to thank Barbara, because I played a song to the children when I was head of music. And they were so inspired. In fact, it has affected them, some of them, to go into careers as saxophonists as well. But, you know, thank you, Paris, that's beautiful. Do you know that Barbara actually wrote to all of them personally to thank them?
Oh,
I mean, that I just couldn't believe, but they wanted to thank her. But that is Barbara for you. And I thought it would be nice to just bring the program back to where we started on that live tour in 2005. It's only a 3-minute extract, Are You Real, from Paraphernalia. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anna. And I think we'd all like to hear what kind of musical journey we went on through Nigel Osborne and X System with your incredible performances yourself, Anna, as well, and Barbara. Do give her
Thank you.
our love tomorrow when she hears the show. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for a wonderful evening. My first duty is to ask if you'd be kind enough to have a look at the questionnaires and fill in the second bit. We'll just give you a little time to do that, and then we'll get on to see what X System said about the music. Yes, very good. Thank you. Dangerous thing to do. Yeah, what a wonderful evening. I mean, for me, an evening on Parnassus. This is a mountain I tried to climb. And I got far enough to see you all at the top. I was a good friend of Dick Hextall Smith, by the way. I got that close. But I could see you all at the top. And so it's wonderful to get us that little bit closer tonight to this wonderful musical spirit that you all represent. And I made some discoveries. I thought I knew as much as there was to know about Barbara Thompson. I didn't know about Please Bach. I think that's a piece that puts a microscope on the heart of music. Absolutely stunning piece of work. And I'm just angry I didn't know about it before. I'm joyful that I know about it now. And the other thing at the end is a wonderful voice. I think Anna has this gorgeous voice. Wonderful, expressive, textured, emotionally rich, wonderful voice. And so I just want to hear a lot more of that, please. So 2 discoveries. If we look at the analysis, if Paris, you'd be kind enough to put this up. And an apology, there's one track missing because Paris and I got into a bit of a mess today with uploading and downloading. And we got there more or less. But anyway, X System is a technology that predicts the effects of music on the body and on emotions. Why do we do this? You know, we know what our emotions are. Well, this is from medicine. We're interested in the medical uses of music. And if we can predict what it's going to do to your blood pressure or your heart rate, then it helps us to be able to predict its effect in medicine and make it useful. And so it was invented by Paul, by the very same Paul who played, you know, with Barbara, the Medici's. So Paul and I invented X System. So this is the journey it shows us. So it starts off, the circles are emotional circles, and I'll only focus on one thing this evening because there's a lot of elements. One, it's to do with being, having excited and aroused, having, you know, wanting to move, wanting to get moving rather than being relaxed. And we see that we start with close to the edge at quite a high point. I mean, this isn't an all-on, full-on, you know, beats piece, but it's interesting. It starts, I mean, if I hear it correctly, like 7 beats, 6 beats, 5, 4, 3, 2, or something like that. And so it catches us in something unexpected from the very beginning. And then, of course, we go down a little step to the film Jazz, Rock and Marriage, where what I do is I extracted the bits of music from the film. And that takes us down to slightly more relaxed. There's some quite cool numbers that we used to accompany the film. And then, of course, for the wonderful little Ennio, even a little more relaxed, a little more laid back, preparing us for an absolute kind of, you know, quantum leap in you know, nervous activation in sax rap. Really the highest level of the evening, plunging right down to barricades, into this very soft and gentle place. I mean, what a wonderful sound. What a great sound of sax and fiddle in octaves. Wow, wow, wow. And getting the slides together and everything is really wonderful. Great piece. And worthy of the same piece Couperin. Couperin wrote a piece of the same title. And then for the film, I took the excerpts and Playing Against Time, the film, there again has a quite high energy. And then coming down to Dear Bach, which was, you know, one of the revelations of the evening. We're about to get to the next one, but as I said, just the most wonderful, extraordinary piece. I mean, as a musician, hearing that voice leading, coming from jazz and Bach and the fallen angels of goodness knows what kinds of music into some new and very interesting place. Really amazing new music, really new music. And then onto this little mix of wicked games, beautiful, lively, raising the energy. And then we missed, because of our strange day, the beautiful piece written for Anna's father, for John Heisman, which is just one of the, I know where it would be. It would be in quite a laid-back place, even despite John's drumming. It's really in quite a laid-back, relaxed place. It will be down a little bit before coming up for 1,000 years. Sorry, 1,000 years came first, didn't it? Then going down there for that piece, and then coming up for Are You Real at the end. So amazing evening, an amazing journey. But thank you, as I say, as a traveler up the mountain, seeing you all guys there. Wonderful, wonderful. What a wonderful place of music to be. What a great evening. Thank you.
Wasn't it just, Nigel? It was quite incredible. I think for me, this one more than any was about love. You just felt it in every song, Anna. So thank you for that. Tying that all together was amazing. I particularly liked, you know, your story of what really makes you smile from those videos is when they had a bit of an argument at the end. And I think sometimes, you know, with our loved ones, they are most perfect when they are in moments of imperfection and tension. And isn't that great that we can see that, I suppose. I was also struck by, you know, your mum's playing with that illness, absolutely extraordinary. And the story of how your dad overcame that disability to enable her to function. That was really resonating for me. I have a close colleague who's quite ill and with a very difficult journey of recovery ahead of him, and his partner relayed a tale this week of how when she'd held his hand, she felt a little bit of movement in there, and how extraordinary hopeful that was. And I shared a poem with them that it reminded me of. And this poem is not just about holding hands, although superficially it appears to be. This is about, you know, what we pass on through our love, I suppose, through our families and through our friendships to other people, and how we indelibly impact on those who we do care about and share our lives with. It's very short. Hold my hand. Let me tattoo all the creases and lines and the spaces between your fingers into mine. And I think, you know, not just the love of music, Anna, but that whole feeling of how important family is to help us to function in all of those ways. It was such a real joyful evening for me, absolutely fantastic. And the only other thing left to say, I think, is I was toying with one moment of maybe going with the bulldozing image and what would people like to bulldoze. So if anyone wants to try that train of thought instead, feel free to post in the chat before you leave what you might like to bulldoze today. But thank you, everybody, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.